Something really great happened this morning. Walk Through the Bible for years has primarily focused on adult ministry. We teach plenty of children's events and events for students, middle school, high school. But in this season, one of our real growth strategies globally is to minister to a whole lot more kids. I'm talking about potentially millions and millions of children around the world. And this morning, my day started at 7 a.m. as most of our regions have selected a children's ministry coordinator. We hired a guy named Terry Broberg, and this was the first time that this entire group has been together. And I could spend this whole Voices talking about just that. But this morning, something happened that I have not been able to get out of my head all the rest of the day. Terry Broberg, our new leader of that initiative, he mentioned Psalm 78 and he read a few verses, and this is what has just kept my mind active all day long. Psalm 78, beginning in verse 1, says, "Give ear, O my people, to my teaching. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings from of old, things that we have heard and known, that our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, but tell to the coming generation the glorious deeds of the Lord and his might and the wonders that he has done." That's the thought that I have not been able to get out of my mind, that is the calling of God. I believe more and more on our ministry as Walk Through the Bible. But you know what? That was not initially given to an organization. Before the church existed, before there were even human governments, it's the family that is the primary building block of all society. And you take this passage and you put it together with Deuteronomy 6. This is what God calls a mom or a dad to do, to tell coming generations about the greatness of God's work, not just what he's done, but who he is, his character. And I just want to challenge you today that this is priority one for us. If that's your own kids, if you're in the active parenting years, seize those opportunities. You know, when it's bedtime and the kids ask for a story, tell them a simple story from the Bible. We've got lots of tools that can help you do that. But share a story, brag on God, not only from the scripture, but from your own life experience. Sure, sometimes they'll work you. Our kids, Emily and Philip, they would get very spiritually inquisitive at bedtime. And I know sometimes they just played us. They didn't want to go to sleep. But don't miss those moments, because now our kids are 33 and 30 and we're not putting them to bed anymore. I'm pretty glad about that. But those opportunities don't exist. My wife, she had a Bible school on wheels in the theology of the minivan. If you still have kids at home, seize those opportunities today to talk to your sons, your daughters about the works of God in the Bible, but what you've seen in your own life. Maybe that phase of life is past. We don't have active kids that we're parenting anymore. Now we've been promoted. Now we're grandparents. We are now the possessors of all wisdom. And now we have the answers we didn't have when we were mere parents. I don't neglect the role of a godly grandpa, a godly grandma. There's an openness in the heart toward grandparents. Kids are just, there's a love there that a lot of times I didn't even feel as a dad. But now that I'm pops, wow, what an opportunity. You know, and this passage goes on. The next 4 verses say, "He established a testimony in Jacob. He appointed a law in Israel, which he commanded our fathers to teach to their children, that the next generation might know them, the children yet unborn, and arise and tell them to their children, so that they should set their hope in God and not forget the works of God, but keep his commandments." Now listen to this. "And that they should not be like their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation whose heart was not steadfast, whose spirit was not faithful to God." That is so encouraging to me. All through the Bible, we get We get the good news, we also get the bad news. Even our most precious Bible heroes, Scripture presents an authentic view. When they made mistakes, they had weaknesses too. And I sure didn't do it all perfectly in my life. I sure didn't do it all correctly as a dad. And now as my son and daughter-in-law, they have 2 kids with a 3rd on the way, to be able to also tap into those things. It doesn't do the next generation any good if all they ever hear from us is hero stories of our greatest hits album. But to authentically say, life's too short to learn everything by your own experience. You got to learn from my example. So open up with your kids, with your grandkids, about your successes, but also with your failures. And let's adopt this. Not only are we doing this as a global ministry, but it starts first and foremost in the home, that we teach our kids and our grandkids, even those who aren't our own children, but others that we can influence, that we teach them about the greatness of God, His works, what He's done, but also His character. May that just occupy your mind like it has captivated my thinking today. And we'll see you next time on the next Walk Thru Voices.